Okay, so the Wolves attack, the final part of this series, what does stats say about the Wolves attack? I think the attack is clearly the strongest area of our squad on paper. You know, if you look at it just on the website, you know, we've got seven really good attackers. Obviously, Pedro Neto's out, but I think Bruno Lage is probably getting the best out of them so far. Obviously, we've been a bit unlucky. You know, if you look at the expected goals table minus actual goals, we're bottom right now by some distance, which, I mean, it's one of those things where eventually it will kind of even out, right? You kind of assume, but it's not just a luck thing. Like, I personally would just say we've been unlucky, but luck only goes on for some point. Eventually, you've got to kind of make your own luck, you know? And I think there are some things that have obviously kind of boosted this stat, right? So we've been behind in all the games, for example, especially in the Tottenham and the Leicester game, where we went behind really early. Those boost the stats, right? Because the other team's sitting back and you attack them more, which means you have more shots, which kind of boost your XG. Um, and I'll go on to some of the good stats in a minute, but I think there are some things where you can kind of look at them and go, maybe that's why we're not scoring. So, for example, if you look at crosses in the Premier League this season, we've put the third most in. Now, I'm not saying crosses are a bad thing. You know, Liverpool and Man City are the two sides above us. But Liverpool and Man City, a lot of their crosses are from, you know, Liverpool, they're from really good, high quality fullbacks, which I like our fullbacks, but they're not Trent Alexander Arnold, they're not Robertson. And then Man City, a lot of their crosses are lower crosses, right? Whereas a lot of our crosses have kind of just been Marcel punting them in and Adama Traore punting them in into kind of one guy. So I think that's kind of one of the reasons why we're maybe not scoring as we should do, either because the crosses aren't good enough, or maybe we're kind of relying on crosses a bit too much. I think another thing as well is, I know it's really simple, but we're not getting our shots on target. You know, it's all good having loads of shots, but if they're not on target, it doesn't really matter. And you know, we're fifth for that stat, fifth lowest. You know, Tottenham, for example, Tottenham's metrics are really bad this season, but they're getting most of their shots on target. They're not having many. They're not having many shots at all. You know, we've had 57 to their 36, but they're giving their high quality forwards good quality chances, and that's kind of not what we're doing right now. It kind of just feels like we're having shots for fun. And then finally, our shots are kind of from far out. You know, if you look at the average distance of a shot in the Premier League this season, you know, we're the sixth highest, which isn't terrible. Like, I'm not saying it's rubbish or anything, but you kind of want the average shot to be kind of close to goal, right? There's been a lot of Ruben Neves and Jair Moutinho wonder attempts, and that can only go on for a certain point. But that's only the negatives I could really find, really. Maybe either put in more high quality crosses or kind of just stop doing it as much and kind of just be a bit more patient. Probably get a bit more shots on target and kind of get them in closer in. I think they're the only things that I could criticise Bruno Lage's side for so far. But I think everything else is pretty good, you know. Shots per 90, we're getting 19. Again, only Man City and Liverpool, you know, the two elite attacking sides in the Premier League. Apart from maybe Chelsea, I guess. But they're the only teams that are having more shots per 90 than us, which is obviously really promising, especially considering we play against good sides, albeit we have been, you know, losing in a lot of those games, which kind of does help that. Shot creating actions, again, that's kind of a dribble or a pass that leads to a direct shot. Again, we're only behind Liverpool and Man City. We're the third best in the Premier League. Adama Traore has helped that massively. I think he's got the most shot creating actions in the Premier League this season, if off the top of my head anyway. So we're clearly getting in good areas, right? And there's not really to me that stat shot creating actions suggests that we're getting in good areas, but it's kind of a final ball thing, right? Or it's just decision making, but that will plateau over the season. Like the fact that we're up there with elite attacking sides like Chelsea, even Graham Potter's Brighton, you know, Mikel Antonio fired West Ham, and then obviously Liverpool, Man City. You know, eventually it will even out, especially against lower quality defenses that aren't switched on, right? And one thing I thought was interesting as well is if you look at Europe, just every club in Europe's top five leagues, all 98 of them, Bulls are actually 31, so kind of in the top third for like goal difference or expected goal difference. So, and we're above Chelsea, Leverkusen, Lille, Atalanta, Man United, Tottenham, Real Madrid, like Juventus. We're above some really big clubs there in 30th. And again, obviously it's only after three games, but not many of the clubs above us have three losses. You know, Eintracht are, but that's kind of about it. All these other sides have loads of wins and W's, whereas we're kind of just there with three L's, but we're in that top bracket. We're above some really big clubs with good managers and elite squads. So overall, the attack's in a good state in terms of actual personnel, right? I think probably need to stop putting in as many crosses, Probably need to get better quality shots, more on target, closer to goal. But we're creating enough chances. We've got enough players creating good chances, and we're kind of overperforming a lot of Europe's big clubs in terms of the amount of points we're expected to be getting. So I think people should be pretty positive for the attack. Let it happen. I think Nottingham Forest is a good example that eventually it will click, and assuming we don't get any injuries to Adama Traore, Daniel Potence, or Raul Jimenez or whatever, we should be okay. And I trust Bruno Lage to make that attack work. And assuming that we don't get any midfield injuries and the centre backs kind of continue their form, I think we're on route for a good season, man. But if you enjoyed the video, like the channel or subscribe to the channel, like the video, and yeah, peace.